Talk about a whole bunch of lifesavers. How you like your lifesavers? You do like your lifesavers. Hey, and you're not scared to admit it. That's what I like about it. Like, I like lifesavers and I'm proud of it. I think that's good to go. All right, so I'm going to give you 1 minute because that took way too long. Be well on your way to, like I said, at least creating 2 equations. It's 2 equations you should be able to create. But don't worry about the algebra part. One of them you won't be able to solve anyway if you just are creating equations and not solving. Use red. Nope. Everything's. Almost good. Ooh, I can't see that. Oh no, Jim. Save it. All right, so there are 2 and really just 2 main principles you need to know for geometry for a while. And we happen to be talking about both of them in this one problem already. And we're going to use these same 2 for weeks to come. And we'll add some in, but these are still going to be the main 2. When you see a figure that has 2 lines that cross, you see an X. And it won't always just be an X like this, like that's just an X. Sometimes there'll be other stuff around it, like some like connecting the outside line somehow to make some triangles. But there's going to be an X in there somewhere. You have got to immediately think of this first one, which is called what? I can't repeat all that. I don't remember what I said. Yes. When you see an X, that's what you need. You need to think of this when you see an X in a figure. A vertical angle. Fantastic. You need to immediately think vertical angles. But now you need to know what that means. What's that mean? What does vertical angles mean? Across. It means the 2 angles across from each other are equal or congruent is the math word, but yeah, they're equal. The measure of this angle and this. So the measure of that angle and the measure of that angle is the same. How do we measure an angle? What's it measured in? Degrees, right? It's measured in degrees. So whatever, if I took a protractor and if I measured this angle right here, so I'm talking about that angle right there, if I measured that with a protractor, and then I took a protractor and I measured that angle with a protractor, it will be the same number of degrees. So it's the same thing for this angle here and this angle here. If I took a protractor and I measured those, they would have the same number of degrees in those angles. These are not equal here, which is kind of clear if you just look at how big that angle is and that's skinnier. So those are not equal, but the ones across from each other are equal. So that is the first thing you need to think of anytime you see an X in a figure. The tougher question, though, is what in the world is that? What is that goofy thing right there? What do you think, Yadiel? I don't know. Who am I going to ask? Noah, what do you think it is? What about it? It is an acute angle. It's very cute. But what's all that I circled? Why do we put that there? Yeah, that's still the measure of the angle. I'm representing the measure of that because I don't know what it is because I haven't measured it with a protractor. They didn't tell me what it is, but that represents whatever the degrees are. So let's say it was a 76 degree angle. This is another way that they are writing 76 degrees. And I gave this same analogy last week. You can have $10 a lot of different ways. It's still $10. You can have a 5 and 5 ones. You can have 10 ones. You can have change thrown in. You can have one $10 bill. Still $10. So don't get hung up on the fact that we got a 7x, but over here it's a 3x, and here we got minus 20, but here we got plus 12. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the same degrees. We're just showing it in different ways, and ultimately that's what allows us to solve for x, is that we're going to have an equation using these two expressions. So again, don't get hung up by all the weird stuff in there. It's still just, they're just saying that's how many degrees that angle is. We just have to solve for x to figure out the actual measure of the angle. Any questions on that before I go on? Let me get rid of everything as I do it. So if I now want to set up an equation to solve for x, then we're not going to solve for it. What would I do based on everything we just said? Now, are we adding them together? What did we say about those two angles? Well, those are not on the same line. They're across from each other. So when they're across from each other, what's true about them? So you're talking about this one, right? You're talking about this one and this one? Oh, you're not talking about those two? Well, that's correct for that one. So let's cut, we aren't to that one yet. I'll let you do the next one. So what's true about these two, we said? So they're equal. So we would say this angle equals, I mean, literally, if you say that is equal to that, then you're going to write that is equal to that. So that's one of the equations you should have written down. That's for when two angles are across from each other, when you see an X in the figure. I'm not going to solve that, but you would solve for X. And then if they wanted you to solve for one of the angles, you'd have to plug X back in. You're going to be doing this on your IXL, so I'm not going to go through and spend a bunch of time on this. We already don't have enough time to really practice today. So what's the other? I'm going to zoom out. What's the other equation? Do you want to do this one now since that's the one you're doing? What's the other equation that we can do having to do with them being on the same line? None. What's the other equation about ones that are on the same line? Well, let's see. I'm going to circle them. So he's talking about that one. What's the other one you're talking about? So these two angles right here are not across from each other. But we said, well, if two angles are part of the same line, or more importantly, if I take a straight line, how many degrees in a straight line? 180, right? If I then take that and I split it into two little angles, well, I didn't change the big angle. The big angle now is the straight line. That's the big angle. So two little angles added together equal the big angle concept. If I split them and I call that angle 1 and angle 2, so here's the only other concept well, for a while, it's the other concept you have. The two smaller angles. So when I split an angle, I should have, here, hold that. Let's move that down. There. So if I take we'll do a totally different angle. So if I take that big angle, let's say that angle is 75 degrees, which is probably not, but that's fine. That's 75 degrees. If I now say, well, let me split that into two smaller angles. And then I'll call them again, I'll call it angle 1. And now angle 2 is now this smaller angle. So there's the big 75-degree angle, and then there's the smaller angle 1 and another smaller angle 2. What's true about angle 1 and angle 2? Henry. What's true about angle 1 and angle 2? Yeah, I didn't change the outside line that was the 75-degree angle, right? I didn't open it more or close it. I just split it into two angles. It's just like we did with line segments. So the two smaller angles have got to add up to be the bigger angle. That's the only other concept you need. Vertical angles are across and they're equal. The two angles, the two smaller angles add up to the bigger angle if they're like adjacent to each other. We don't have phones out. right? Look at who I'm just caught for a while. So that's really all this one is down here also. That's really still the two smaller angles added together equal the bigger angle. It's just in this one, they didn't tell us what the bigger angle was. We have to understand that if the bigger angle is a straight line, that down here, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. So you kind of have to know this last piece, this 180 piece. There's a third part that we haven't covered, and it's on the IXL stuff today. If I have this kind of an angle, what kind of angle is that? Well, it's a right angle, which has 90 degrees, right? So if I have this drawing, and that's all they give me, I know angle 1 and angle 2 add up to the big angle, but I also have to understand what? Angle 1 plus angle 2 equals what? Yeah, in this case, again, they didn't tell me that they're going to add up to 90, but you have to understand based on that little symbol there, that's the number that they would add up to. And that's, I mean, again, two little angles add up to the big angle, and then vertical angles are equal to each other. That's most of what you need to solve geometry for the next, until we get to proofs, which proofs are, you're still going to prove that same thing when we get to proofs, but it won't be actually solving. So here's what I want to, oh, any questions on any of that? All right, so go ahead, get out your laptops, phones, whatever you're going to use. I will be monitoring, so I will know if you're in there and if you're working or not. So don't try to cheat the system. Yeah, do you have a phone? All right, then just use your phone, because today is not going to wind up being a grade, because you're not going to have enough time. It took most people actually didn't even get to 70% to get to the point they needed to do the quiz. Some did, but most didn't. I'll show you what you're going into. Oh, why didn't that work? Try that again. There we go. So IXL looks like this. I'm going to show you in Clever also, if you don't know what it looks like. It's that icon right there in Clever, your portal, Clever, whatever you call it. Click on that. Then don't try to find it. Just go to the magnifying glass in the upper right, because too many people went in the wrong one at every single class. Go to the magnifying glass in the upper right and just type in AKB, and it'll take you straight into it. You don't have to do anything else after. And then get going. You should have out paper, pencil, calculators. You can't do these in your head. I will be monitoring what you're doing on here, so please be working. You're not going to sit there and play on your phone. Yes, sir. The first, actually, one other person didn't have either, but he had to go to guy. You don't have it either? You can sit by a plug and work on it. I'll take care of that. What's that? Well, you can go plug, you have to unplug it. You don't have a charger? Do you have a charger? You don't have a charger? All right. I didn't print anything out, but what you can do is go to your book pages. So the three of you that did it, go to your book pages and practice what we did last class. It's same stuff basically. Oh, then you need to tear out books. So go over to those book. Did you? So okay, so you were here when we tore it out, just weren't around. All right, so I'll come to get together with you guys and show you while they're getting in. For everybody else though, go to IXL, type in, go to the magnifying glass, type that code in, and get to work. I have a little screen that I'm gonna be monitoring. Where is it? Oh, the score grid right there. So I'll change it to 7th period. All right, so I'll check and see who's in once I check these guys. Do you have book pages? You already told them. Let me see what's sure at some point. Oh, did you get me back? Oh, did you find him? Oh, I got it. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I was like, all right. All right, so, oh, linear pairs, but that's all. So yeah, so just continue from here. You can read through this if you want. It's a lot of the same stuff we did, vertical angles. Pair just means they have well, actually, yeah, I'm sorry, it does mean they have adjacent means they add up to whatever. That's the two smaller angles and big angle. Don't worry a whole lot about complementary, supplementary. So yeah, you can just practice these. The page, if you don't have your technology, if you don't have something to do, page, what was that? 67, just start at number 1 and work your way down. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody else has issues with a computer about to die, you can try to move closer to an outlet, just like the all people I told. You can try those in the back sky. Not every outlet works. Well, you know, don't make it mine. Nope. Yeah. Good. Better do some work. Get back on this. Oh, you're in red. Go to the Mac. Go to your red screen. Oh, so if you're on a computer, then the magnifying glass is the same place mine is, upper left. Just type into there, AKB. Yeah, go up. Go right, at least on the phone. It's odd. Have I had that conversation with you? Oh, no, you get hold of my site. Let's talk after class. Is that the right one? Yeah, angle solver. All right. On that. Keep going on that. So these are the, well, I won't say exact, but they're very similar to what you're going to see on the quiz. If you why do you have this out in that?
I'm literally on it.
Oh, I'm watching. If you can do these, you should be fine for the quiz on Thursday. I'm hoping they're gonna let me maybe even use your IXL score to convert to a grade. So that way, if you get to the 70% you need in order for me to even give you the quiz, which I don't expect most of you to get to that today, but if you get to the 70%, I can say, okay, well, they got a passing grade. Now you do my quiz just to try to get your grade up even higher. But that way you don't feel like you wasted all that time if you like barely get to 70 by the end of the class, you still pass. So I don't want you to get all frustrated if you struggle to get it done in time. But I need to talk to somebody, just make sure they're okay with that. Seventh period. So are you in, Andy? Or do you not have a phone or anything to do? Do you have the pages? Do you have the book pages that we sort out? Or find the book pages and I'll show you what I told Yadiel. And you do a lot of IXL stuff on your own. Oh, actually, I have a. Did I give you one of these already? Did I give you one of these last week? I think did I not? Oh, I thought I had one of these for you. Yeah, I gave you one last week. Do you not have any more? I gave you one of these last week. Like it's one of those cards I told you can use for the Friday, the 5-day Friday thing. No. All right. I know I wrote one out for you. All right. I'll give you no. So get your book pages out, and you may have already done all of them. If you've already done all of them, then I'll find something for you to do. But let's see, Kanani. Are you logging in on it? All right, because you're not in right now, according to this. Agony, you were in, but I think maybe you have to answer your first question before I see the score, maybe. Diego, are you in, Diego?
Yep.
It's not showing so many people. Oh, okay, now it's showing you. Noah, are you in? All right. Have you answered a question yet?
I just answered.
And maybe there's a maybe there's a delay on it. And Sabrine, are you in? All right, have you answered a question yet? All right, so yeah, it just takes, I think there's a delay. I don't see a score until you've answered one question. And if you see 0 for a while, don't freak out. I mean, obviously you don't want to see a 0, but a lot of people struggle to get their first question. So that's why you're practicing. But get help. Don't just like go to the next question. Click on, get help or need help with this problem or stuff like that. Go to the magnifying glass upper left and just type in that AKB and it should take you right into it. Did that take you right in, Mahogany? Like as soon as you type that in? Yeah. I know it does on your phone. Somebody's already at 22. Henry's already at 22. He was already at, I'll talk about the makeup in a second. Remind me to do that. I want you guys to work on that for a while. The retake. I don't know because it randomizes the numbers. Some people did say they were getting them earlier. So I guess it, but again, normally if they don't tell you how to round, you shouldn't be getting decimal. Like, you know what I mean? Like they'd have to tell you round it to the, unless the decimal ends, I guess, if it comes out with like 0.3 and then it just ends there, like there's no more numbers after it, I guess then you just put the 0.3. But so yeah, I mean, put it in if they tell you it's not right, they'll show you the correct answer. So you know if you got it correct. And you just didn't round it off correctly. If you miss a question, you go backwards. So you need to try to get it right. Don't just say, oh, well, it's probably this. Think about it. Figure out the correct answer. Don't just take your best guess. I'm letting you use notes for this part. Can't use notes when I hand you the quiz if you get to that point or in the future, but you can use your notes for the IXL part today at least. Are you not in? I just want to make sure. Like, why do you guys? Please. Well, okay, so that's right.
That's okay.
So that's the same one that I just did a little while ago, only I put angle 1 and angle 2. They have like instead of just putting a number, they have a little mini equation in there. So that's little angle plus little angle is big one, bigger. Well, you're creating an equation. You were to solve for that. Little plus little equals big, same thing. So figure out what the little is, figure out what the other little is, and then add them together and they equal big. What's the big angle? Measure the big angle. There you go. The little ones add together. Did I hold somebody for? Oh, beautiful. Oh, wait, was I holding anybody for retro? Was I really? Really doesn't deserve, does she? She really doesn't deserve to. Yeah, yeah. You come back. And so you don't do it? Does that make sense when you don't know how to do something and it's important? No sense whatsoever.
I thought you were going.
No, I'm not going over. This is a quiz. This is not a lesson today. You're practicing. see how we're doing. If you get to 70, it doesn't like nothing tells me somebody got to 70 on here. So you just need to tell me that you got to 70 and I'll give you the Henry's close. I'll give you the quiz. If you don't finish the quiz today, no big deal, but at least you got to see it before you take the real quiz on Friday for you guys. So Henry, you'll be there soon, so just let me know when you get there. When you get to 70, just let me know and I'll give you the real quiz. That's just the one. This is the real quiz. I don't expect everybody to get to this, but since you are going to get, all you got to do is get 70, I'll just give you 70. How do you not have? Don't finish that. It's not going to count. At least it gives you a chance to. It should look pretty much like what you're doing. Did he take the class from you? Jaden. Oh, I forgot. You kids, so funny. Yes. I will go over this one since we haven't really. So they want you to figure out. These are not on the same line. There's another one. Have to add in with that. So what you have to do is you have to figure out this here. How do you figure that out here? You do that. No, it's one of the, what do you see there? That's what you see. So the one across is just equal to that. Right there, that's an X. Oops, sorry. So you'd write that one down there, you'd write it across. Now those two angles that are next to each other. So what would you do? You kind of walk me through what I just said. What was I saying? Where? Well, where? What are you making? I didn't say make them equal. They are equal. You're not creating an equation. You need to fill in this angle right here. What is that? The one that doesn't have anything in it. What is that? Yeah. It's equal to that, right? Because there's an X right there. So this would really go there. And then now you see that 90-degree thing. That's how you get that. If you don't finish, doesn't matter because you're gonna get the same thing again. So you got some problems you can do with this. What page was that you got? I told you guys to do that have to put pages. 67. Oh, you did. If you're pretty comfortable with all of that, I'll give you the quiz. All right. I know you do a lot of IXL. I saw you do a lot of work in here. About you. Yeah, so. Oh, hold on, let me stop the recording real quick.